Welcome to Intentionality with Dominique, the show that helps business owners become valued and in-demand suppliers in the marketplace to scale their businesses. Let's start today's show with host and intentional connector, Dominique Simpson-Milton.
Intentionality with Dominique is designed to spotlight successful entrepreneurs, those who've made it past the critical 10-year mark and have valuable insights to share. Their journeys offer lessons that can help less experienced business owners avoid common pitfalls and grow stronger, faster. The more businesses we help survive, the stronger our economy becomes. We also feature corporate leaders who have been intentional in opening doors of opportunity for diverse suppliers and small business owners. Today, we're spotlighting trailblazing MBE Sylvester Hester, Chairman and CEO of LM Manufacturing and Supply Chain, whose inspiring success story offers valuable insight for entrepreneurs at every stage. Sylvester, welcome to the show.
Well, honor for me to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Sylvester, you might not know this, but my dissertation is based on your success story. The way you have navigated the supply chain for several leading corporations is impressive. But what is most impressive is how you treat your employees, training them to be financially prudent, to get advanced training and education, to own homes is noble. You are indeed a servant leader. Tell our viewers about your mentor and how you became the successful entrepreneur you are today.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. Those kind words coming from a giant like yourself warms my heart. You know, the good book says, we are blessed to be a blessing to others. And where much is given, much is required or asked for. So I've had the benefit of being mentored by one of the true titans of our industry, of our time in our community, Dr. William F. Pickard. I actually joined his organization right out of college and needing an internship. And so our relationship grew from internship to mentorship, to sponsorship, to partnership, to ownership of a portion of his firm, to ownership of my own, and then lordship of our lives for the Lord. We were both believers in Lord Jesus Christ. So, I've had that relationship over 40 years where I got a chance to look, and there was a 20-year difference between he and I. So I had the ability to somewhat, if you will, kind of look around the corner. And because he was an entrepreneur and understood and weathered the storms and challenges of entrepreneurship, because for similar businesses like ours, the failure rate is well over 80% in the next first 18 months. So he went through that, and then he made it a very intentional effort to kind of share that knowledge and skill set and capacity building with the next generation. And I was the benefactor of that. So how could I not, after benefiting that way, not be willing to share what I have learned over time? And so, fortunately, by God's grace, we've been able to instill that into our workforce and our people development component.
So one more time, take me through mentorship. I love how you say this. There's like a 5-step process. Give us a 5-step process again. Mentorship.
Yeah, it starts up. And we call it the ships too. And it's actually a wonderful thing, expression of community building, if you will, and how to wage commerce. So it started off with an internship, where I needed a final internship to finish my bachelor's degree in plastics engineering. And he owned a plastics engineering company as well as other businesses. That internship turned into a mentorship, where then you had the senior person who's willing to turn around and give advice to a junior person and help them along the way and deal with the challenges that they deal with. And then it turned into then a sponsorship, because he was so impressed with my actions and my behavior, the fact that I was coachable and listened to what he was saying, and then put in the effort to do it, that he would then not only just gave me advice as a mentor, he then start allowing some of his assets to go towards my endeavors. And that turned into a sponsorship. And then that moved to the next level, where he says, hey, I'll give you advice and I'll use some of my assets, but you really are achieving, young man. And so now let's go ahead and look into a partnership, where then I was given an opportunity to then pick up 1 or 2 points of equity based on sweat equity. And then we use that to move forward. And then as a course of time went on and I had a measure of success, that partnership moved into ownership, a portion of his company. And so that was the next ship, as we call it. And then as time goes and success, and then learning and training, was shared. And then ultimately to ownership of my own firm. So that the ships, as we call it.
I love that story. So now, Sylvester, let's fast forward to Joan Robinson Berry, the intentional trailblazer that we are honoring today with the Legend Award. We honored Joan about 7 years ago when she took over operations in Charleston, South Carolina. And now here we are full circle. At that time, you were working with a partner to support a Boeing project. Fast forward to today, explain what has changed with that partnership and actually go back to how she helped you get in and how you started and where you ended with that partnership.
Yeah, great. So, as you know, we opened up our doors in South Carolina in 2003, supporting the Robert Bosch operation. And we did have a joint venture partner there called Standard Corporation. Then they were bought out by UTI and then bought out by DSV. And we, in 2011, really wanted to diversify our business and get into Boeing because that was the ideal utopia company to get into there if you were a local supplier there in South Carolina, in North Charleston. And I had to do that. And the first thing we realized is that we did not have enough business intel to, successfully make that transition. So sought out some people that had expertise in doing business in automotive. And then also had a willingness and a propensity to share what they have learned. And that's when we met Joan initially. That's when I met Joan. And I found her to be very gracious with her time, found her to be extremely receptive to helping local businesses. And it wasn't just me, but again, you know how it is when people really earn a place in your heart. You feel like they're only dealing with you. But I know she was helping many of us do the same thing. Because she was very free with her time and with her knowledge as well as she should get. So, Joan was able to help me understand the difference between automotive and aerospace. I always felt that there was a great connection because the automotive industry is exacting, it's demanding, and it's punitive. And aerospace had a similar component along with the certifications. And, having someone that I could bounce that type of technical information against, helped me in our pursuit of securing that contract with Boeing. So she helped us get in by being generous of her time, her talent, in efforts to getting that first contract. At the end, once we got it, support did not stop. And because again, year one, year two was also very challenging. Gave me some good advice in terms of making sure that you put enough resources, even above and beyond what was quoted into the initial bid package, to make sure that you had the proper amount of coverage, understanding that, obviously turnover and attrition happens and you want to avoid the brain drain of what you have learned during the launch and startup mode. So again, she kept giving advice during our first and second, third year. And then as she continued to move up in the organization, her advice and her counsel did not stop. And again, it just wasn't me because I had other colleagues and contemporaries that were using her as a resource, a point of encouragement from time to time. And again, when we needed to get a good swift kick in the pants to make sure that we stayed on track, she was very generous in that department as well.
Yes. But you know what she told me, Sylvester? She told me that you came and you gave her a solution for how the kitting could be done better and that you outperformed every other vendor. And so because you came with a solution and you had a value proposition, it was easy for her to really advocate for you. So kudos to Joan for opening the door, but kudos to you for bringing your A game. And congratulations. I understand that now you started out as a partnership, but now you own the company 100%. Talk about that.
Absolutely. So Key Logistics Solutions is a company that we hold that contract with down in Charleston. The doors have been open since 2003 with Robert Bosch, as I pointed out. And then with Boeing since 2011. And my partner, who has grown as well, DSV, and they again were a very good partner. I had nothing negative to say about them, and nor did they leave, but we just grew in different directions. And typically for us, we had owned 49% and they own 49% and we own 51. And then we agreed that, they were going to move on. And fortunately, we had ran the business in a way that we were able to buy them out. We bought their shares out so we could keep the name, keep the business continuity going. And we were doing the majority of the work as it related to Boeing. And again, based on Joan's advice, we always made sure that we avoided the brain drain in that area in aerospace. And so we did. We bought them out, and it's been a great experience. And that was one of the things that we wanted to do, was take an opportunity to what I call celebrate and appreciate at the same time, in which we just did that.
Yes, congratulations on that ribbon cutting. So, Sylvester, as we celebrate that success and we celebrate the success of Joan, what should other business owners understand about paying success forward?
Paying it forward is really what the whole thing is all about, right? Because again, I think when you go back to the 60s and 70s, when the whole initiative of letting businesses of color into the mainstream, it was always designed not for just one or two people to become wealthy and then take that wealth and move on. It was designed for that wealth to be, and that experience and that skill set and that knowledge base to be transferred back into the community, back into individual, that next generation of leaders. So they would learn how to wage commerce, if you will. And that's what we've been able to do year over year. I think that first generation business persons like my mentor, Dr. Pickard, because he opened up his first McDonald's with two other people in the spring of 1971. And he ran a successful business, but then he made sure that next generation, which is my generation, came in, worked for him for 40 years. And now I've learned how to wage commerce, if you will. And now I'm passing that torch on to not only my son and his generation, which are also young business people in their 30s, to be able to carry on, because we still have challenges and obstacles to overcome. We still have people to develop. You have technology that's growing at a rate that's going to create more job eliminations with AI and with automation as they create, which is going to exacerbate the skills gap, which means that the emphasis on upskilling and reskilling is going to be extremely important. So that's going to be one of the challenges that this next generation is going to have to deal with. And I'm happy that we're doing our part to make sure that they're ready to meet that challenge.
Excellent. Excellent. So, Sylvester, if you could do anything over again, what would you do differently?
I would start off and be more diligent and reading. I would read a lot. I've turned into a very ferocious reader. Being a lifelong learner is something that was important to me, but I would double my efforts there. I would double my efforts in focusing in on utilizing emotional intelligence techniques, because you have both like primal leadership, but you find out building teams early on is the most essential part of growing a business, and keeping a culture that allows firm, fair, and consistent behavior for all is probably the biggest key to business continuity and ongoing success.
Excellent, because your biggest asset is your people. So congratulations there. And Sylvester, I would be remiss if we didn't share with our audience, you have multiple baskets. You don't just have one business. And so talk about very briefly about the business you have with seat manufacturing for the Bronco.
Absolutely. So we also have the opportunity of completing manufacturing complete seat systems for the exciting Ford SUV, the Ford Ranger, and also the Ford Bronco. We make 18 to 20,000 complete seat sets per year. We have over 650 employees that all hail from the inner city of Detroit, about 90% of them. So we're very proud of that and doing a very good job and making good opportunity available for those that work in our business.
Excellent. Outstanding. So, Sylvester, do you have an exit plan?
I do. I mean, that was part of the learnings that we were able to acquire. I lived through it with Dr. Pickard, and it was very an intentional succession plan where actually he did something I thought was so unique, and I think it's a best practice. All the people that had helped him be successful down through the years, he would invite them to Atlanta, Georgia, and I was their personal garçon for the weekend. I would actually pick them up from the airport. I'll actually take them to the hotel, drive them back and forth. At first I could not figure out why he was, making me do that. But what we found out for the 10 or 15 people that had helped him be successful all over the country, by having that level of personal interaction, it found out that those relationships were then transferred from him to me. And it wasn't until, I needed some of those guys and he picked up the phone and called him and they said, Sylvester, how you doing? I still remember you, that crazy joke you made dropping me off at the airport and all that stuff. And I sat back and I continued to marvel at Bill's insights and his wisdom that I had the benefit of having.
Excellent. So you didn't even know why you were doing what you were doing, but there was a plan behind it. And I'm sure that you have a plan as you, think forward into the future about how you're going to transition your business. So Sylvester, before I let you go, I have to ask my favorite question. As a leader who has built $1 billion business, what is the difference to you on working in your business versus working on your business?
I think to me, that's the nuance of it, because again, you have to have one foot solidly in the business to deal with the transactional things that you need to take care of day in, day out. But then you have to have one foot solidly in tomorrow, reading ferociously and getting information, understanding the mega trends that are happening right now that will drive local decisions down the road. So it's that duality of working in your business while also working on your business to make sure that you have proper alignment and ensure that you respond adequately to the challenge of the day that you're faced with.
Excellent. It has been such a pleasure having you here today, Sylvester. Much continued success to you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. And again, you're one of my favorite people in the world. You already know that. So always a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I look forward to continuing to do our part to help all that of our colleagues be successful as well.
The feeling is mutual, Sylvester. And well, that concludes today's special episode of Intentionality. Be sure to join me for our next episode. And remember that we must always remain intentional to gain knowledge, skills, and connections so we can grow and thrive in business together. I'm Dominique Simpson-Milton, and I will see you next time.
This has been another episode of Intentionality with Dominique, brought to you by the CVMSDC. For more information, please visit cvmsdc.org.